So, finally we get a little bit of pop culture. So, I have a question for everybody in the audience. Don't be shy. Who, when they were a child, wanted to be an astronaut? Hands up. Let's have a look. Oh, not as many as I thought. When you're 6, everybody wants to be an astronaut. When you're 16, it's pimples and puberty, and you've forgotten your dream. We are here to tell you that that dream can come back. We are here to show you that anything is possible. I grew up in a little town in Isleworth in the United Kingdom. I had a very happy childhood. I am also a South Asian woman with a Pakistani father, and that had its own challenges. I actually saw an advert in the newspaper. Who remembers the newspaper? Classifieds. 30 years ago, this is how you could get a job. So the little box, the little advert said, "Who wants to go to space?" And I was like, yes, me. I rang the recruitment agency and I said, "I want to work for NASA. That sounds amazing." She laughed and she said, "That was quite funny. You've got a good sense of humour. Why don't you come in and talk to me? And just to be clear, you're going to be selling advertising space, not space. And I was like, I was 17. What did I care? So I started selling Yellow Pages, those big books that we used to have as door stoppers 30 years ago, and I was pretty good at it. In fact, I ended up at 19 earning more money than both my parents. It set me up to not only fail, as our friend Miguel said, but also to understand how to be part of the corporate world. So now I live in Ibiza on a farm where I grow my own vegetables. I run a space media company with that rock star over there. And we are disrupting several industries at the same time. So, more on that later. My name is Deborah Sass, this is Thomas Reemer, and this is our TEDx talk.
Our government kept us trapped in the small country that we lived in because they didn't trust us to travel, because they didn't know if we could come back or if we would come back. Private initiative was immediately cut down and prosecuted. I was exempt from higher education very early on because I was deemed to be too independent. And that was actually the first moment where I realized I had to become resilient and do something about it, because of course I wanted to learn more and learn about the world. So I secretly changed schools against the government's will, against my family's will. I was 14. The freedom came hard and fast for me when I was 18, because the wall fell. There was a soft revolution in East Germany, and we all did our share to kick the government to the curb and gain our own freedom. That moment taught me that only resilience really achieves.
Thank you, Thomas. So, let's talk about the things that Thomas and I have in common. We've known each other for 20 years. We both come from no money, no privilege, no access. We both love taking risks, and we know nothing about the space industry. So how do you become somebody that knows something about an industry you know nobody in? So, in true business development style, I actually went onto the internet and said, "Thomas, we need to get to know the space industry. We are going to go to a space industry event." And again, didn't even know where they were. So we Googled Space Industry Europe. We both live in Europe. And what popped up was New Space Luxembourg. It was 3 years ago this month, actually. And what do you do, again, when you know nobody at these events? I look at the speakers, 60 speakers. I recognise 2 names, NASA and Deloitte. Everybody knows them anyway. And I thought, we've got to go and talk to the speakers. So I spent a week doing a detective job, And I went online and I Googled everything I could to get email addresses of those speakers. I found 35 email addresses. And I sent 35 emails, and it said this: "Hi, my name is Deborah. I'm new to the industry. I'm coming to your event with my business partner, Thomas Reemer. Let me buy you a coffee and give me 15 minutes. I want to talk about space and media." 22 people wrote back. I was like, cool, the space industry is professional. This is good. So we then had 22 coffees 3 years ago, and to this day, not only are all of those people supporters of our company, but some of them are investors and some of them even work for us. 3 years ago, we knew nothing about the space industry.
Thank you, Deborah. The question is always, how do you discover that you are resilient? And when do you discover that? Because if you waste a lot of time not knowing, then you waste a lot of power. Because discovering that you are resilient is actually a superpower. It probably takes some time before you do, because you have to have some events in your life that lead to being resilient, right? And then it takes reflection back on those events and some history. So it might happen later in your life. But I can only urge you to really go and search in your own history, when might you have been resilient, and really recognize that moment. I went on to do a lot of things in my life against all odds, right? I studied twice. I ran a music club in Berlin. I wrote and co-wrote a top 10 hit single. I wrote a couple of TV shows. I built platforms. And now we run a space company together. And I raised some kids that are very happy and they know what they're doing in life. Do I consider myself successful? Absolutely. But would I succeed in getting a corporate job if I would apply? Probably not. Because the HR department would fail to realize that there is a thread that goes through all of this, and that is resilience.
Thank you, Thomas. So let's do a little bit of more questions. How many countries in the world have a space agency? Yell out some numbers. 10? No. 4? Most of them? Right. 68 countries have space agencies. It's shocking because so few people actually know that. So almost half the countries in the world have a space agency. We spent COVID at our homes, working from home, as did the rest of the world. And because of that, we had the most successful year of our professional and personal lives. I lost a ton of weight, got super fit, and we built this incredible company. So we are now officially working with over 60 government space agencies in the world. And again, 3 years ago, we didn't know a single person in the space industry. So now we know the movers and shakers, and now we really want to show you what resilience is reignited. So we did our first business trade announcement looking for a broadcaster for our show. For those of you, and I'm going to say pretty much everybody is not in the media industry, a broadcaster is an Apple, a Disney, a Netflix, you know, the global streamers and broadcasters. And we did a really cool, short, to-the-point press release. It went out a year ago. And it said, we've got the ticket with the biggest launcher in the world. I'm sure you can figure out who's that. We've got a brilliant production company. We've got the idea. We're just looking for a home. We're looking for the eyeballs of how you're going to watch the show. Within minutes of that press release, our phones started ringing to our agents in Los Angeles. And they were like, oh my God, they've all come in. They want it off the table. This is amazing. And we were like, bam, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's all happening. In good faith, we negotiated with 4 of those said broadcasters. And 6 months went by, we were still negotiating in good faith, and one of the first broadcasters that wanted to take it off the table came out with their own press release. It was May the 18th. If any of you can figure out who it was, go for it. And they said, we're doing exactly the same show, and this was in a newspaper that I was reading it, and almost word for word had literally taken what we had said to them 6 months before. Thomas rings me at 6 p.m. We're in Europe. Our people are in Los Angeles. And he said, have you seen the news? I was like, no, what news? I've been working all day on the phone. He goes, Google blah, blah, blah. So I Google it, I read it, I run to my bathroom and I throw up. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to have diarrhea because the physical shock was so dramatic. This was 3 years of my life. This was everything I had been doing. And all of a sudden, it had just been taken away from us, or so we thought. So we talked to all of our advisors late into the night, till like 11:30 at night. And of course, in most media fashion, everybody wanted to sue everybody else. And Thomas and I went, let's sleep on it. There wasn't a lot of sleep going on. We both were up at 5 a.m. I ring him, he rings me. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, nothing. He said, I agree, let's do nothing. Let's let it lie. And this is resilience reignited, because we then told all of our staff. When we tell your staff, when you start to make things real, it shows that literally nothing can stop you. So what happened? Nothing. In fact, 6 months later, we have more space agencies, we have more staff, we have more volunteers, we have built an even stronger organization because we didn't do anything about the announcement.
Yeah, big shocks still come every day, right? Because we are doing something that nobody has ever done before. So we can't rest on anybody else's experience. We have to carve our own path, and we have to, disrupt as we can. And that makes it very, very hard. The hustle is real, and the daily hustle is absolutely real, but we don't feel it. We don't feel it as much as other people. If you feel the hustle, if you think that your work is work, right, then you should reconsider what you're doing. If you discover that what you do is your life and that you have a calling, then that becomes your mission. And with a mission, you gain the second superpower next to resilience, right? Because nothing can deter you. People always tell us, oh, that's a great idea. And then they walk away laughing. And it doesn't matter, right, what they say, because we know that eventually they'll come around and understand what we're doing, because we know if the mission that we are on is landing with somebody, it really lands. And that's what really matters. You can create energy with resilience that carries other people, as Debs was saying before, and carries you through any storm. We have other shock moments where we are ashamed because we have to tell our team that they might have wasted their time and energy on things that are not happening. And that is a hard moment, right? You want to run your company on ethical principles, with the right openness and transparency, and you have to go back to people that put all their hopes in you. You have to be able to sleep at night with that burden on your back. But when you share challenges, you will discover that the energy that you create makes you even more resilient. Our team always comes back with brilliant suggestions and ideas on how to get things back on track, and it carries us as well, which is an important lesson to learn about it.
So Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit. And in it, she says, grit is perseverance of long-term goals. So when you tell your friends and family that you're going to send the first normal person to the International Space Station, and they all laugh at you for a long time, you need a lot of perseverance, you need to be passionate, and you need a lot of grit. All of that leads into resilience. So where are we today? We have, as I said, over 60 space agencies supporting us. We work with thousands of volunteers. We are not public yet. That's why you've never heard of our company. But next month, we will be going public, and we've hired some very interesting people to help us do that. So watch this space. We are now represented in 87 countries. We have 75 staff from 14 different countries. And as I said, I barely finished high school. When I decided to get into entrepreneurialism, it was absolutely a fluke. This is my 4th company. And Thomas and I have known each other for 20 years. That's resilience, just being friends for like 20 years. So we're very happy with where we are. We're very happy with the people we have working with us. We work with some of the best in breed for AI, for space, for VR, for technology, for all sorts of marketing and branding and influencers, and very few businesses are not covered in our little company. So we're very happy with where we are today, and a lot of it was very challenging to get to.
But what is going to happen in the future? That's the biggest question, right? And since we are connected and work in a field that includes technology, we see how technology develops exponentially, and you see this also in the previous talks. So the world is going to dramatically change over the next 10, 20 years. It won't look like it does today. We will see that global thoughts and global action will lead to the first successful global initiatives. We will see that nation states might become federal states in a wider context of understanding that every challenge on this planet is global. We might see that we have a lot less billionaires going forward and a lot more millionaires, right? And when we talk about closing the wealth gap here and forget all the poor people on this planet, then that's exactly what I mean. It's everybody comes up to a certain very rich level because the earth can cater for it. We might actually see that we are living on a much cleaner planet than we do today, because simply it's going to be more costly to let the planet rot instead of keeping it clean. And of course, if you think that you're on your mobile phone for too long every day, then think again, because you will be connected to a device 24/7 in the future. And that's nothing to worry about. It's probably a good thing. We understand that by understanding resilience, we have a duty to charge forward, because we have the power to do so. And we want to leave you with that. Understanding space means understanding Earth. Space caters for an environment that is without oxygen, without water, with too much solar radiation, and the disposal of waste is incredibly difficult. This is all things that we are facing on the planet that we are living on, and so we have to support this industry. Stay resilient, discover your own resilience, never forget where you come from, never give up, and never stop. Thank you very much.